Okay, hello. I'm back. You see the brightness behind me. Let me pull that curtain down. So, okay, this is better. Okay, so let's have first a little bit of talk about Japan. Immigration laws are changing, so that is a problem. I'm already before Takashi went as prime minister. I applied for PR, so I hope I still have the old conditions. They added pension age, they added income. Now I don't have an income because I'm almost 60, so I don't put anything in the pension fund in Japan anymore. That stops at 60 and you get your pension at 65. In the Netherlands, I have a pension for 84%, I think, or more than 50%. In Japan, I have also around 50%. So if you add it up, I think pension fund is okay. Money-wise, in the beginning, I was earning good. Then I was under my wife, so then I earned nothing, but I got exempted from pension pay, but the years count, so I think I'm okay. If not, well, we have to see then. So then we have the carry trade. I think a lot of people looking at the yen becoming stronger. You see things moving in the stock market, they're recovering. So this is all has to do with what Takashi said. She said the Prime Minister of Japan said she wants to. There is a problem in Japan that a weak yen. She tried to do anything. The Bank of Japan tried to do it, didn't work. So they said, okay, the end we can do, we can sell our American bonds. That is not what America wanted. So now they are helping. They sold European and the bonds they had, America, and bought yen. So they are helping Japan. Why? This has to do, if you think about it, the carry trade. What is the carry trade? Very simple. American company goes to Japan, do a loan. The loan on money is maybe 1%, let's say. They buy from that money bonds. That is a 4% interest rate you get. Now 4%, 1% off is 3% free money. So you just, if you have some money, you take a loan in Japan. You use that money to buy American bonds. And that's so the only things that are dangerous in this case is if the Japanese interest rate goes up or the American interest rate goes down, because then the 4% becomes maybe 3%, and with one you get only 2%, and you still have to pay this 2% loan, of course. So also the problem will be the FX. If the yen becomes very strong, your payments gets higher. So that's why they pushed it down. So maybe this weak yen was because of the carry trade. Now this influenced the Japan's situation. Everything becomes more expensive. Oil gets expensive because it's paid in dollars. So the whole life, what they didn't expect, became more expensive. If you buy really Japanese stuff in Japan, it's a little bit the same price. Also, tourism became bigger because of the cheap yen. Also, people went more to Japan because of especially Chinese and some other countries came here. They caused some problems. Also, some Muslims caused some problems with the mosque. So they wanted to ban them, and that's why on this point the politics are what they are. That influenced the immigrations law, and that is why they're now changing it. It is not mainly because they don't like foreigners, because there are big groups that misused and got social money. It's about the social money. Special groups were very smart to get social money, so free money. And that is the problem every time. In Japan's case, Japan is the wallet for America. With the carry trade, for the stock market, you see if the carry trade will stop, the funds have pulled back their bonds and their stock that they bought from this loan of Japan, and you see the stock market going down in America because they are mainly invested in America. Also, NISA, there's a Japanese system for stock. They thought, okay, Japan will buy Japanese stock. This didn't happen. What happened was opposite. They bought American stock, and again they had this problem with American FX that went wrong. So that is a little bit about what it is. And now you see that the dollar gets in opposite of the yen becomes weaker. So you see that the yen becomes stronger now. I expect that they try to do it, and I think that doesn't hold. So there has to be a more better solution for this. What that is, I don't know. Also, you see people saying it has to do with the weakness of the. There is also maybe now you can see maybe there are 2 points where you have to look at the market. Bitcoin, you see that Bitcoin, the Clarity Act in Japan also wants to have Bitcoin so they can. Why? Because bonds, American bonds, has to be bought. And stablecoin, for example, there is not a stablecoin is $1. One stablecoin is $1. And what they did is they used bonds. So you have to have American bonds. You have to buy American bonds for your stablecoins. So, and also for other things with crypto, they want to connect that to the bonds. So then they have a sure buyer of American bonds, so they can loan more, and they are not depending from China, China or Japan buying American bonds. And this is the same thing that Japan wants to do. If they make their own stablecoin, people will buy. They need to have stable coins, so they buy Japanese yen, not Japanese yen, Japanese bonds. So there's also an automatically buyer for Japanese bonds. But that is the whole idea for these crypto. And then you see gold. Now, gold, people are now saying that will go to $30,000. It is now $4,000, but gold will go up, and silver, of course, will follow and maybe overdo it. So that is, I think, will always go, because if more money comes in circulation, the metals, the precious metals will go up. Also, with later, if we see that we talk about SpaceX with solar panels in space for databases in space, they need a lot of silver. So you can bet it that they will use the production of 1 year silver that will go all to space to build big solar arrays on Mars, on the moon, and on in space itself for data centers. So I expect the silver to be much more going up as gold. But let's see. For example, the gold has more advantage because it's tax-wise. It is still a monetary thing. So it is less taxed than silver. So for now, it is smarter to do with silver until we will expect an explosion. And it's better to be in gold now, tax-wise, but not growth-wise. But yeah, I don't expect that silver will go much faster up than gold. So, but it will at the end. So you have to see for that signal. So this is all you have to look at. This is all what I'm talking about. It's just advice and observancy. This is not financial advice. I'm not your advisor. And I'm just talking, and I'm just telling what I'm doing here in Japan. And Japan is still attractive for foreigners, but gets less and less and less. So people that want to come to here, try if you can stay here, if you can do the goals. The only fastest way is now to marry with the Japanese, get a good salary, stay here, get as soon as possible your permanent residency if possible. Try to, and also I advise people now to study Japanese, because that will be the next thing that will be added for your visa. So that's it. Now let's talk about, we are already 8 minutes in the talk. Let's talk about SpaceX. Now, the databases in space, everybody, some people in the Tesla in the world says, oh, we already knew that, already do that now. I'm writing books on Amazon now for a couple of years. And one of the first books I wrote was about databases in space, and not AI in space, databases in space. And why was that? I used to work in the database world and with Informatica. That's now bought by Salesforce, so I can talk about Informatica. I was there a little bit a developer, helped with design with the Java tool for the snippets of the widgets that are in the tool for Power Center. And it was all about databases. And you can, of course, install the software on the database. You work with databases. We work with all databases, from Microsoft, IBM databases, HP databases, all platforms. And we also work with Oracle. And Oracle, I saw developing this database, really going better and better. And it looked like that they were making a database that was self-repairing, self-optimizing, self-tweaking, self-administrating. So it became a database where almost no admin was needed. It could tweak itself. Now, I think if there is with AI, the next step is that you do an AI manager over your database, and it is all hands-free. And I already saw that years ago, even when I worked maybe, 20 years ago or 15 years ago in the database world. And I thought, Larry Anderson, friend of Elon Musk space. Where would you put, if you have a communication and if you build the internet in space, where would you store your data? For example, your YouTube videos or your database information. You can put it on land. Yeah. If your customer needs it, you have to go from his phone or his connection to space. For the other side of the world, there's another satellite, and then go down again and get the data from there. So is it not much better to put the whole database, your YouTube videos, your music, or your IT project or your database in space? The problem is no maintenance. You cannot send an astronaut there to add a client or whatever. So it has to be running by itself. And this is what already Oracle was building or already had. So I thought at that time, SpaceX will work with Oracle and they will build databases in space. That will be the smartest move. And then for Tesla, at that time it was SpaceX, that will be the money maker. I knew that Starlink would be a money maker, but I think if you can databases in space, all the videos, just think about it. If you make all your videos, all your storage of your data in space, it's only a link directly to you. The number of pings is much less than you go half around the world, finding where the data is stored and pull it all the way back again to your place. If it is already in space, there it is, and it is free energy, free cooling. So I thought at that time, that is it. Then I heard the whole thing about AI. Now I built for 1.5 years or maybe 2 years. I was working on a prediction system for stock. And what I saw there is that AI is not intelligence, it is a prediction. Especially the human brain, is not a logical thinking machine that can do logic calculations very fast, or that we can do logical decisions. And that is the more intelligence, the more logical thinking you have. I concluded, and also some professors concluded, it is a prediction machine. If you can guess an answer, or you've been very good at, so some people are talented. They look at a table and some straws are fallen and they can directly see there are 252 straws there. They don't know how that works, but you can imagine if you can guess, and really good guess, with a special talent, they have an advantage. And this is, I think, people have to more look at that the brain is more a guessing machine and an optimizing machine for guesses and estimations, because that is also logical. If you are an animal, you're a hunted animal, and you can guess better which way to go to run away, or what time to speed up or slow down, you can make a prediction what your enemy is doing, you have an advantage. Not logical thinking. That will take too much time. It is just a reaction of, okay, I guess this. A guess is the fastest calculation there is. If you have a number and you hear two numbers, you make a guess. The guess can take one thought, and you say it's around this number. And if you're very good at prediction, you can predict precisely the number, and then it looks like, oh, he can calculate very fast. No, he can predict very fast. I think that is maybe a little bit overdone, but this is how I think a brain works. Now we look at the brain of an AI system, and I built AI machines, recognizing pictures, recognizing text, simple chatbots. Those totally different working. They are not predicting the next word, but how they do it, it is not as a human brain. So I think if you want to see how an AI will develop, you cannot compare it to a human or to an animal, because it is different. So that's also what we are seeing. We see these strange jumps in advancement of AI. Elon Musk had the idea from how bigger the brain. They say you have 3 billion parameters or 2 billion parameters. And now they are even in the trillions. The bigger the brain, the better the logic. Now, this is not with a human, because a human's brain doesn't grow. You get intelligent. You can see that there are different people in different places on Earth with different intelligence levels. And you see also that your intelligence can grow in the time, but your brain doesn't get 3 times bigger. And this is what we see with electronics. We see that it is not bound in there is some advantage in the software, but it is mainly it is also the way you can just force it, just build a bigger brain, it will be better. But this is not always guaranteed. It doesn't mean that if it's an animal, a bigger brain as a human, that you are smarter than a human. Or a chicken or a dog or a small animal can be smarter than a very big animal as an elephant. So brain size doesn't matter. It is what is inside of it, how the software works. But for AI, it does matter. The bigger the brain, the bigger the parameters, the faster, the better the response, and more intelligent. We think it is more intelligent. I say think because we don't know if it is more intelligent, but we assume it is more intelligent. It is more accurate. Maybe that's the better word. It's more accurate. So if you now think about this, we will see an explosion of the growth of the AI, more parameters. Now, for simple people, what does it mean? 1 billion parameters. So it is like a spreadsheet. Huh? You have an X and an I line, and there are all numbers, a matrix. Huh? They call it a matrix. That is just all numbers in a spreadsheet. That is what is a model. That they'll call the weights. And then you have the model, but the model is easy. There is some software written in Python, some filters, some whatever. But the most important thing, what the treasure is from Anthropic or OpenAI, is this parameter field. Now, if you have a small one, it is not so smart. If you have a very big one, with a lot of numbers, it's getting smarter and even more smarter and smarter and smarter. So it is, and how do you, so if you can imagine, if you have only a million parameters or you have 1 trillion parameters, this has to be stored. And this every time if you have a question or if you have some processing for your AI, it has to go through that matrix. So those numbers has to be weighed and changed, and then you get this answer out of it. So you need more memory. So in memory and RAM, and that's why you see all the shortage of memory. And that's why for the Korean companies like Samsung and SK Hynix are doing now good. Why? They make memory. And there is if you grow your model and the brain becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, you need more in the models. Because of the models, you need more memory. So that is what we are seeing. And I would expect that there is a breakthrough and then the memory collapse with the half of it, or what is it? It goes like the factor lower. For example, they have now 1 trillion. Some people in China or whatever find something and they can shrink it. Now, this shrinking is already done because distillation, but this is not, it's a little bit of cheating. This is not really, you make it smaller, but you have to have the bigger model. So you don't have a way that you can value making trade. You have to have this big brain to make a smaller brain. Now, this is not, you understand if you have a child with a bigger brain, and if it's getting older, the brain becomes smaller, but it gets more intelligence. That's not the case. So this is also for AI, but for AI it is different. So we see in AI that we see the brain becomes bigger, and it gets more functions, and then we see that it is specialized all over it. And then the smaller brains are the distillations are for specific tasks, so as coding, making images, making videos, or doing some calculations or some other works, and they subtract from this big train a specific thing. Now, what has to do all this talk? Now we know a little bit about AI. What does this do with SpaceX? Now, SpaceX, the mission for Mars is so, in the future, it will cost so much money that, how you call it? Nobody can pay for that. Who will invest in something in a dream? So you need something with a big bag of money. And who will fill this money? That will be the people that will use this AI, but also use phone. Starlink is a communication system. Not only it will be extended into the phone, and will be extended in. It's already in for internet. Now, I think internet in the future will disappear. Now we are typing using a keyboard for Google for finding something we are looking for. Now, if you look at the newest model, you can already speak to the model, and you can ask it a question for, we want to go on vacation to there and there and there. What is the price, or are there any rooms left there and there and there? Now, it is also, if you work with agents, you can also automatically book the room, do the trip, print out the chart for the car, how to drive, estimation of all the costs, so you are prepared for the vacation. And this can be done without any looking up, researching. This can do with just a voice command now in the day, with AI. Now, it means if we are like 2-3 years further and these models are better, you don't need a keyboard anymore. You just talk to the computer, say, I have this and this task, can you do this? It does it, and you're done, and you don't have to type in anything. And if you want to ask, I want to talk with my mother, can you call my mother? Or if she's not there, leave a message. Now, she's there, you get a direct connection to her, you can talk with her, and then it breaks off, and maybe there's a report made automatically what was said, if there was something that you had to do for her or whatever, automatically noted, automatically put in your calendar so you don't forget. So this will be the future. So, and this will all run on AI, and it will be all in space. Why it is in space? Because on Earth, there is no space. There is no space on Earth, and that's why we go to space. That's interesting. But this is the case. And also land, people will be annoyed by it. People think it is bad. People will be jealous. Also, you will see some places will have a data center, will be rich. Other place doesn't have that income. So there will be all kinds of problems there. So the easiest way is just put it in space, like international waters, build out there your infrastructure, and then everybody can use it to a lower price. There will be always the problem that you have to renew all the satellites once in a while, maybe faster than people think. But yeah, if you have Starship, you can launch a crazy amount of satellites every time you go. And Elon Musk was thinking not to launch once a month, as he now does, but it goes to once a day and maybe once an hour. Now, can you imagine once an hour? How many hours are there in a year? Now, there are 60 satellites he can launch from the type 3. Now, you are talking about 10,000, maybe 100,000, and in 10 years there are millions of satellites in orbit, and that is the biggest database center or whatever you can imagine. So in 10 years, he can put up, if everything goes okay, and he can launch every hour, he can put everything is possible. So how can he make it possible? So what is the most important thing? What is for people want to know, okay, is this a future that is really possible? Where must they look at? And that is the most important thing for also if you want to invest in things, if you want to see what the future is going to, you have to look at SpaceX. You have to look at SpaceX. Klim Shortwell is there now the boss, and she already gave some very positive sounds about the launching cadence. When do they launch? How much? And is there a progression? The most important thing is if there is a failure, 1 month or 2 months is very important because they can miss something. Like for alignment to Mars, that is only a specific time frame where you can launch. If they have, for example, one big accident and they hold up 6 months, that means 6 months they will be delayed. And if they were giri or just in time for this space mission, they will miss it because they lost 6 months and they're 6 months too late, they overshoot and they cannot launch because they are not aligned to Mars anymore. So the most important thing is the cadence. Can Elon Musk or can SpaceX launch those rockets fast enough? Now, Elon Musk already said that he wants to move away with Falcon 9. That will be an opportunity, I hope, for Rocket Lab with the Neutron. Not many people talk about it, but I think the Neutron will be very important as a smaller rocket, but very profitable if the Falcon 9 goes away, and they can take all those missions that the Falcon 9 did or something. They can do with Neutron. They will have good business there. Interesting stock, interesting Satcho, the CEO Peter Beck, look into it. look at the company, interesting, maybe invest. It's now at the half of the price, so it is a buy. And also SpaceX and Tesla all dropped. This is because what I told before, Japanese yen carry trade building off. People go out of positions because of the carry trade, means they sell all the stock, and that's what happened. The stock selling, I think, in America was 100% linked to the carry trade with Japan. So, and with the weak yen, and now they are strengthening the yen. So about SpaceX, so you have to look how fast SpaceX will develop. They are already, I think, a year, maybe 1.5 years behind schedule, because in reality they had to already be on the moon or on their way more than they are now. The problem is also the launching place. They are building now, they have one operational, they are building on two. What happened with Blue Origin, if they blow up one, they will have a delay of 6 months or maybe more. But they are a little bit lucky because a little bit further away, they're building another one. And I hope that it will be up within 3 or 4 months, so that if they blow up one, they have a spare. But also, this will not work. If they want to launch every hour, they cannot launch from the same place. So they have to have a more mobile system. We saw in China, they had a system that the first stage they catch with wires on a ship. Maybe he has to go back to that idea or buy some insulated island in some places in the ocean or in the Pacific or wherever. Buy the whole island, a small island, make a base of it where you can land. That is maybe an idea, but there are no people, so this is also difficult. But you have to transport to the rocket is more expensive than the rocket itself. So I thought about first that there's a solution, but that is not a solution. So you have to be close to production by ore and by people. So I was thinking in Kenya is maybe a good place. It's in Africa. If it would launch up, it is directly goes into sea. I think in Japan is a good one because if you go from the Chiba side, if you launch up, you go directly, you're already in the Pacific over direction of Hawaii. And there is a lot of space there. I live there, so I know there is, and the coastal is not much used. Maybe he can buy a big piece of the beach, but the ground behind it, build a Tesla factory or SpaceX factory with a launch pad, and he's done. He makes maybe a bullet train or with whatever that he invests in Japan for a bullet train from Tokyo to that place, and he has the perfect connection in Japan. The only problem is he will go over Tokyo, so he has to maybe look a little bit better how he can land it. But I think the best place in Japan is not Tokyo Bay. That's too dangerous. But I think more on the side of Hawaii, so Chiba side, maybe make there a platform where he can land and make there a rocket place and also nearby a factory for making the rockets and etc. I also maybe have to look to Australia because they have a lot of ore. Maybe in South America there was a lot of ore because the first thing you will need is you need building materials in space to build some things. He needs that for not so much, but until he can build a moon base, and if he has a moon base, he can pull out there the heavy material and launch it with a railgun. The railgun idea also, I had it already many years before, not in a way that I was thinking about. There are some movies about helium-3. So if you want to send helium-3 to the Earth or in orbit, you don't use a rocket on the moon. You use a mass drive. So it is a linear motor. It's like a train. There's a famous Japanese anime of a train that goes to space. No, that is it. You make it is not a steam locomotive, but it is like a magnev train, and you shoot it up. But you don't need a train. You just need a package, and you just accelerate it with a magnet into space, and that is it. And with some maybe a little bit rockets, or you calculate it with an AI, and then you shoot it precisely in orbit around the Earth, and then it will precisely stop at the right place where you can pick it up and put it into a space station or space yard. I think he maybe will build. He has to build a space shipyard in space where he can refuel, build, assemble spaceships in orbit. Maybe not low orbit, but a little bit higher. So I think that what SpaceX also has to do, they have to look at the space stations, and he can build them out of starships. And I think he has to think about the refueling. Maybe why don't you make a space yard like Star Trek? Make a big place in space where you can park your not used spaceships. If something is not good and the tiles are not good, it's too dangerous to land, keep them in space and use them for traveling to the moon or traveling in space from one place to another. Don't land them because you know that they will break. So you can maybe use them in space. You need a fuel depot. So maybe make there also a space station near, so you can do some research in industry, maybe new materials research for space, and until you have a moon base or you have a really good place to research on the moon, you will go do that on the moon, and you'll get your ore from the moon, and you still have a backup space yard I call it in orbit of the Earth. So he has to first build, I think, a space yard in orbit around Earth, then a space yard on the moon, and then he will make somewhere in space another collecting point where all the spaceships can go. I think he said around 1,000, or maybe the first time it will be a few hundred. Then you go to Mars, drop all communication satellites so you can make communication all around behind the sun, because it rotates. I think you need the whole solar system. You have to apply with lasers so you can communicate. And then on Mars, also in orbit of Mars, you need to build some space yard or something big structure, and then use not maybe in the beginning. Maybe you just dump the robots on Mars and they build the infrastructure, the land pad, and then later you use the rockets. Because I think if you then the rocket, it will not be successful. You see that now that is landing on Mars is very difficult because the atmosphere is different, conditions are not very known. So why don't you just crash? He has this shield, this what is it, star shield. Why don't you use that? Dump your some robots with some material on Mars. Use that to build a platform on Mars and some solar panels. Then land a small, maybe a Dragon or half size of a smaller size of a Starship. Land that. Then you have for probably maybe 100 robots. Build out a base just to receive goods from starships that can land there. You clean up the ground. You make some concrete platform or regolith platform so you can land the rocket safely. Then you start to build. You ship the stuff there for life support, making fuel, melt trees, all kinds of oring things, whatever. You build the base there, and if everything is done, maybe a year or two, you build with thousands of robots the whole build out the whole base. Then you start to ship people there. That's the most safest thing you can do, and this is the same thing you have to do on the moon. Just dump some robots there, use with satellites that are in orbit, control them, build a platform where you don't have any problem with the moon dust. Then you can first land some smaller size. I think maybe some Dragons, land them there. The Dragon was supposed to be landing on the ground, but they made it a parachute in the sea. Maybe they can use now, because the moon has less gravity, maybe they can land a Dragon capsule on the moon. Now, use that first to ship more robots more safely there. Build out a moon base a little bit. Then, if you can land and wheel Starship there, start to land starships there. Humans will help and build out the whole thing. But moon will be a lesson how to build on Mars. Because the first years on Mars, you have to do it remotely with AI, because the moon, the Earth, this is the sun, this is the Earth, and it rotates. And Mars is in another orbit. So it is a time that when you're on Earth, the view of Mars is blocked by the sun. So it has to be, of course, you can with telecommunications, satellites all around, but it is very fast and very slow. So you need AI there. So you need an AI maybe in orbit of Mars, because maybe on the planet is too dangerous. So you build a database center, a big database center for one AI around Mars. that will control the whole Mars base. You do the same on the moon. Maybe he can try that first with the moon. You make a kind of big data center, AI center that is in orbit, continuously looking at the sun. That is an AI. You have a smaller constellation around the moon for communication, so you can communicate everywhere with this AI, and this AI will communicate also with Earth, but this will communicate with all the robots and plan how to build the base on the moon. And this is the same he can use on Mars. And I think this is the first step of what SpaceX will do. The most important thing is build out the starships and build out the rockets. And the more efficient, lower cost, that will be the main goal. And what I hope will happen is the next time it will go, the flight 13 was successful, only the first stage was a little bit an accident. I think that next will be, I hope they will push it into space, because they find out that the rockets can be launched, the engines can be ignited into space. So there's some kind of guarantee already that it will always go back to Earth and it can burn up there. So there will be no waste in space. So I think that is really already possible. So put the Starship in space and launch those satellites. I think that's make money. The faster you have a constellation and you can use telecommunication on Earth with direct to phone, faster you get money from that. The more money you have, the more you can invest in star bases and building out the whole Starship plan. So it will only speed up, because I think he is a little bit behind plan. Also, maybe don't launch 60, maybe only launch 50 and do 10 of databases there and experiment with some satellites, with other satellites which you want to do with the same layout as a Starlink satellite. But the problem already is, if you look at it, the solar panels have to be much bigger and the coolers has to be much bigger. So maybe that he can fold it into spaceship, but I think you cannot put 60 database satellites in it. I think it will maybe half or maybe less. But I also know it is, I think, 90 meters the hull. I think it will go to 120 meters, and maybe 20. It will go bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think he needs his biggest or middle size hull. So maybe the fourth or fifth version of Starship to really push out the databases in space. And I also think he needs this bigger one to going to Mars. And Moon is maybe already, the rocket is maybe big enough now. So what I want to look at, what I'm looking at, is everything that has to do with the cadence, the success rate of the Starships. And that is what I also think is where you have to look at. The stock, if people are interested in the stock and this merging of it, in 2 years, 3 years, nobody will talk about it. If it becomes one company, I think if they can launch, if they can do what he is thinking he is possible, if they want to make a moon base, only think about the moon base. If he can build a moon base on the moon, and he can make this super satellite system for phone and databases in space, nobody will talk about that the stock now is half the price, or that it was a misinformation. Everybody will thinking, why didn't I buy more? This is not an financial advice, but if it goes as planned, what Elon Musk is thinking, this will become one of the most successful and biggest companies in the world. And buy some stock, even if it is 10, buy something, it's $1,000. Even here in Japan, buy some stock, hold it, don't look at it. So sometimes if you buy, maybe people don't know, the best investors, JP Morgan found out that all their accounts were a group of people. And they were the best investors, had the best returns, and it was incredible. The only problem was those people were dead. They invested, they died. 10 years later, they found out that they bought Apple stock. So they never sold. The problem is, people buy stock, they always think, okay, it's doubled, I sell. And then it goes 10 times up. And they don't re-enter. And I see it by myself. So my advice is also, buy sometimes stock if you really studied a stock you really trust, the CEO, whatever, think this is it. You just buy little like an index. That is your bet. Don't put all your money in it. Maybe only 5%, only money you can lose, or if you don't care about. This also happened with for example, with me with Rocket Lab. I bought it for $7, so very cheap. Bought. Then it went down. Say, oh my God, it's nothing. But I didn't sell it. I just kept it. Didn't look for 10 years, and now it was almost $120. So I made an enormous amount of money. And I sold, for example, also another stock like Planet Lab. I sold it 40 cents or something. I think, oh, this will never come back. Now look where it is. That was very stupid. So sometimes you buy some stock and it goes up and down. But if you trust this will be the future, like I talk about SpaceX, buy it and don't look at it. And just think about this is a separate investment. You can, of course, trade other stock. I trade other stock also. What is it? Of course, in the AI business, chip business, what everything was linked to memory. I do also trades there. But I also have like a part of my portfolio that is like long-time investment, not for my pension, beyond my pension. If that makes some money, I can maybe enjoy that my last days of my years, my last days of my life, and then have some money, or I can give it to a good course or whatever. The money I make now is more for my pension or add money. Writing books is still going good. I hope I can, with AI, it becomes easier. I will write a very interesting book about the Japanese carry trade, and I'm busy with a book about learning Japanese. So because I'm doing that, and this will become important. So I'm also, but this book will be for myself, a Japanese book. The carry trade I will publish, but it will be a very big book because there are so much components connected. It's called Everything is Connected to Everything. That is what is the carry trade it is, because it is connect Japan and to the whole world in reality, because everybody's loaning money from Japan. That means that if Japan changes, it has an effect on the whole world economy. That will be a book that I will write later about. And I think I already talked 40 minutes. So I will do another talk tomorrow. It is just nice to be back after a long time. And I will close this. I have to look. Oh, there it is. It's a new laptop. So everything is a little bit changed. So I'm ending the screen. And see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.